Chapter 1. The Forbidden Encounter. The forest was unnervingly silent as Evelyn Carter trudged through the underbrush, her flashlight beam cutting through the thick veil of night. She shouldn't have taken this shortcut home from the hospital, but the thought of another late-night bus ride had been too exhausting to bear. Now, the towering pines seemed to press in around her, their shadows shifting like living things in the wind. A low, pained groan cut through the stillness. Evelyn froze, her pulse spiking. Animal? No. Human. Or at least it sounded human. Against her better judgment, she followed the sound, her medical instincts overriding her fear. Then she saw him. A man. No, not just a man. Even in the dim moonlight, she could see the raw power in his broad, muscular frame, the way his bare chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. He was sprawled against the base of an oak tree. One hand clutched his side, where dark blood seeped between his fingers. Her breath hitched. "Oh, my God, you're hurt." Before she could take another step, his head snapped up, golden eyes, glowing golden eyes, locked onto hers. Evelyn's blood turned to ice. In an instant, he was on his feet, his movements too fast, too fluid to be human. He caught her wrist in a grip like steel, yanking her close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin. "You shouldn't be here," he growled, his voice rough with pain and something else. Something primal. Evelyn's heart hammered against her ribs. His face was all sharp angles and fury, his dark hair streaked with blood and sweat. But it was his eyes that held her captive, wild, untamed, otherworldly. A howl shattered the night. The man's head whipped toward the sound, his grip tightening. "Run!" he commanded. But it was too late. Shadows exploded from the trees, massive, snarling wolves with eyes like embers. Evelyn barely had time to scream before the man shoved her behind him. Then bones cracked, muscles twisted, fur erupted from skin. Where a man had stood, now loomed a monstrous black wolf, its muzzle pulled back in a snarl that bared teeth like daggers. Evelyn stumbled back, her mind screaming, "Impossible!" The wolves attacked. The black wolf, Cale, moved like a storm, tearing into his enemies with brutal precision. Blood sprayed the earth, the scent of it thick and metallic in the air. Evelyn pressed herself against a tree, her knees shaking, her breath coming in ragged gasps. And then silence. The rogue wolves lay dead. The black wolf turned, its golden eyes finding hers. Something inside her shifted. A pull, a heat, a need she couldn't explain. The wolf stalked toward her, its massive body dwarfing her own. She should have been terrified, but when it nudged her hand with its muzzle, a strange calm settled over her. Then the world tilted. Pain, sharp and sudden, flared at her neck as the wolf's teeth grazed her skin. Not a bite to harm, a claim. Her vision blurred. The next thing she knew, she was on the ground, the wolf gone, replaced by the man once more. His hands were on her, his mouth hot against hers, his body pressing her into the earth. The full moon watched, impassive, as they came together in a frenzy of teeth and tongues, of whispered growls and desperate touches. When dawn broke, Evelyn woke alone. Her clothes were torn, her body ached in ways she'd never felt before, and on her neck, just above her pulse, a single mark throbbed, a bite that burned with the memory of golden eyes. Chapter 2. The Alpha's Claim. 4 weeks later, Evelyn stared at the 3 pink lines on the pregnancy test, her hands trembling. Impossible. She'd taken 5 tests, all positive. The clinic's blood work had confirmed it. along with something the doctor had called highly irregular. "Your hormone levels are unusual, Miss Carter, almost as if—" The memory of the doctor's uneasy pause sent a shiver down her spine. She pressed a hand to her stomach. It was too soon to show, but she felt them, a strange pulsing warmth deep inside her, like embers glowing beneath her skin. And then there were the changes. Last night she'd woken to the sound of a neighbor's whispered argument 3 floors down. This morning she'd caught the scent of her co-worker's peppermint gum from across the ER, along with the metallic tang of blood from a freshly stitched wound, and the dreams. Every night she ran through endless forests on powerful limbs that weren't human, the wind tearing through fur she shouldn't have. A knock at her apartment door jerked her from her thoughts. Evelyn froze. No one knocked like that, like they weren't asking, but demanding entry. The wood splintered before she could move. The door flew open, and he filled the doorway, Cale Thornwood. He looked even more dangerous in the daylight, taller, broader, his black leather jacket clinging to shoulders that seemed too massive for her small apartment. His golden eyes burned into hers, and the air around him thrummed with something raw and electric. Evelyn's pulse skyrocketed. The bite on her neck ached. His nostrils flared, then his gaze dropped to her stomach. A low, possessive growl ripped from his throat. Mine. The word wasn't spoken. It was felt, vibrating through her bones like a drumbeat. Evelyn stumbled back. Get out. Kyle stepped inside, his presence swallowing the room. You're carrying my heirs. Heirs. Plural. Her breath hitched. She hadn't even told him about the triplets, but somehow he knew. His beta, a hulking man with scars across his knuckles, lingered in the hallway, his expression grim. Alpha, the pack won't accept. Kyle silenced him with a look. Then he turned back to Evelyn, his voice a dark promise. You're coming with me. Evelyn's back hit the wall. Like hell I am. Kyle moved faster than she could blink. 1 second, he was across the room. The next, his hands caged her in, his body pressing hers into the plaster. His breath was hot against her ear. You think this is a choice? His teeth grazed her mark, and fire licked through her veins. Evelyn gasped. Her knees buckled, but Kyle caught her, his arms wrapping around her like steel bands. The rogue wolves that attacked us. His voice was a rough whisper. They weren't after me. They were after you. And now that you're carrying my blood, every monster in the territory will scent you. A chill slithered down her spine. Kyle's grip tightened. So no, little human, you don't get to stay here. He lifted her effortlessly, his arms flexing beneath her weight. Because, whether you like it or not, he murmured against her lips, you're mine, and I don't lose what's mine. Then he carried her out the door, into a world she wasn't sure she'd survive. Chapter 3. The Blood Moon Pack's Hostility. The gates loomed before them like jagged teeth, wrought iron twisted into the shape of howling wolves. Evelyn pressed her face against the car window, her breath fogging the glass as Kyle's territory came into view. A sprawling compound of stone and timber, nestled deep in the wilderness like a predator in its den. The moment the car stopped, the air changed. Dozens of eyes glowed from the shadows. Cale stepped out first, his presence commanding immediate silence. When he pulled Evelyn from the car, a collective snarl rippled through the pack. Human! The words slithered through the crowd like poison. A woman stepped forward, tall, lethal, with moonlight silver hair and eyes like shards of ice. Celine, the pack's acting Luna, and the woman who'd clearly expected to be Cale's mate. Her lip curled as she raked her gaze over Evelyn's fragile human form. "You brought this into our den?" Cale's grip on Evelyn's wrist tightened. "She carries my heirs." A gasp tore through the pack. Celine's face twisted. "You bred with a human?" Her claws unsheathed, glinting in the torchlight. "The blood moon line must be pure. The council will never—" "Enough." Cale's voice cracked like a whip, his alpha power slamming into the pack like a tidal wave. Wolves dropped to their knees, their necks bared in submission, all but Celine, who stood trembling with fury. Evelyn's stomach churned. The hostility in the air was suffocating. She could taste it, metallic and sharp, like blood on her tongue. Then the wind shifted. A howl pierced the night. Kyle's head snapped up. "Rogues!" Chaos erupted. Wolves burst from the tree line, their coats matted with filth, their eyes feral with madness. The pack surged forward, shifting mid-stride, their bodies twisting into monstrous forms. Kyle shoved Evelyn behind him, but one rogue lunged straight for her. Time slowed. Evelyn's vision sharpened. Every detail burned into her mind. The rogue's yellowed fangs, the stench of rotting meat on its breath, the way its muscles coiled before the strike. Too fast. She couldn't move. Then, pain. White-hot agony ripped through her bones. Her spine arched as something inside her tore free. Not something. Herself. Fur erupted across her skin. Her nails lengthened into claws. Her scream became a roar. When the rogue struck, it wasn't a human it met, but a wolf. Her wolf. Evelyn moved. She didn't think, didn't hesitate. Instinct took over, and she ripped the rogue's throat out with a single snap of her jaws. Silence fell. The pack stared. Even Cale stood frozen, his golden eyes wide with shock, because Evelyn wasn't human, and she wasn't just a wolf. Her coat gleamed like fresh snow under the moon, a color so rare, so sacred, it hadn't been seen in centuries. Celine's voice was a broken whisper. "Impossible!" Cale stepped forward, his gaze blazing with triumph, and something darker. Hunger. "Now," he growled, staring at Evelyn's wolf with possessiveness that made her pulse race. "Do you understand?" The pack dropped to their knees, all but Celine, and as Evelyn shifted back, her naked body trembling with adrenaline, she saw the truth in the would-be Luna's eyes. This wasn't over, not even close. Chapter 4. Secrets of the Past. Evelyn's bare feet sank into the thick furs lining the ancient chamber as Kyle led her deeper into the heart of the Blood Moon's stronghold. The air smelled of aged parchment, dried herbs, and something far older, something that made the hair on her arms stand on end. At the center of the room sat the oldest woman Evelyn had ever seen. The Alpha Seer's milky white eyes tracked Evelyn's every movement despite her blindness. Her gnarled fingers, adorned with moonstone rings, clutched a staff carved from what looked like a massive wolf femur. "Come closer, child," Althea rasped. The firelight cast eerie shadows across her weathered face. "Let me see what my foolish grandson has brought into our midst." Cale's grip on Evelyn's waist tightened possessively, but she stepped forward anyway. The moment Althea's cold fingers touched Evelyn's swollen belly, the old woman gasped. Her head snapped up, those sightless eyes widening. "By the goddess," she whispered, "the prophecy, it's true." Evelyn's pulse quickened. What prophecy? Althea's mouth twisted into a grim smile. The one that spoke of a moon-touched she-wolf descended from the celestial bloodline who would bear the next generation of Alpha Lords. Her claw-like nails dug into Evelyn's wrist. You carry not just heirs, girl. You carry asterisks, legends. A chill ran down Evelyn's spine. The triplets inside her kicked violently, as if responding to the declaration. Cale growled low in his throat. Then why are the rogues? Because he knows, Althea interrupted, her voice turning grave. She turned to a crumbling tapestry depicting a great wolf battle. Your brother always was too clever for his own good. Evelyn felt Cale's entire body go rigid beside her. Malachar, he snarled, the name dripping with venom. The fire in the hearth suddenly roared higher, casting monstrous shadows across the walls. Althea's voice dropped to a whisper. Banished these 10 years for attempting to steal your birthright, he's been gathering outcasts and broken wolves to his cause. She turned her eerie gaze to Evelyn's stomach. And now he knows what you carry, the key to claiming not just the Blood Moon pack, but all packs. Evelyn's hands instinctively cradled her belly. The pieces clicked together with terrifying clarity. That's why the rogues attacked me that first night, she breathed. They weren't just random. They were scouts. Cale finished, his golden eyes burning with fury. Sent to confirm what Malachar suspected. His claws unsheathed, digging into his palms. A moon-touched female, the rarest of our kind. Althea nodded solemnly. And now that she's pregnant with your heirs, heirs blessed by the moon goddess herself, Malachar will stop at nothing to take them. A sudden, sharp pain lanced through Evelyn's abdomen. She doubled over with a gasp, her vision swimming. Kyle was at her side in an instant. Evelyn? Althea's wrinkled hands flew to Evelyn's stomach, her milky eyes rolling back. When she spoke, her voice was no longer her own. It echoed with the power of countless generations. Beware the howl in dead of night, the exiled son who craves the light. 3 pups shall wake the ancient power, but blood must spill before the hour. The prophecy hung in the air like a death sentence. As another contraction ripped through her, Evelyn realized with dawning horror that the kicks weren't normal. They were rhythmic, intentional. The babies were responding to the magic in the room, and somewhere out in the darkness, Malachar was coming. Torqua. Chapter 5, The Final Battle. Evelyn's body screamed in protest with every step. Her swollen belly, heavy with the triplets, made movement agonizing. But the war drums pounding in the distance left no choice. The scent of smoke and iron filled the air as Malachar's forces burned outer villages, their howls cutting through the night like knives. Cale stood at the gates, his black fur glistening with fresh blood, his golden eyes burning with barely restrained fury. Around him, the remnants of the Blood Moon pack gathered, wounded but unbroken. They're coming, Evelyn breathed, her hands pressed to her stomach. The babies kicked violently as if sensing the approaching danger. Kyle shifted back to human form, his naked body streaked with dirt and gore. He cupped her face, his thumb smearing blood across her cheek. You should be in the caves with the others. Evelyn bared her teeth. I'm not hiding while our pack dies. A roar echoed through the trees. Malachar had arrived. He emerged from the smoke like a nightmare-given form, taller than Kyle, his once handsome face now scarred by madness, his eyes twin pools of endless hunger. The rogue wolves at his back snarled, their muzzles dripping with saliva. "Brother," Malachar purred, his voice like gravel and venom, "you look tired." Cale's growl shook the earth. "This ends tonight?" Malachar's gaze slid to Evelyn's stomach, his tongue flicking out to wet his cracked lips. "Oh, yes, it does." Then the world exploded into violence. Evelyn fought like a demon possessed. Her claws tore through rogue flesh, her fangs finding throats with lethal precision. But with every kill, pain lanced through her abdomen. The babies were coming, and they wouldn't wait. Across the battlefield, Kyle and Malachar clashed like titans, their massive wolf forms tearing into each other with brutal savagery. Blood painted the snow crimson. Then agony. Evelyn collapsed as the first contraction hit. Her vision whited out. Around her, the battle raged on, but all she could hear was the frantic beating of 3 tiny hearts inside her. Malachar scented her weakness. With a howl of triumph, he broke from Cale and lunged straight for Evelyn's exposed throat. Cale's roar of denial shook the heavens. But it was too late. Malachar's fangs sank deep into Evelyn's shoulder as she twisted to protect her belly. Hot blood sprayed across the snow. Then, light blinding, celestial light erupted from Evelyn's womb, so pure it burned away the night. Malachar screamed as the radiance seared his flesh, his body crumbling to ash. The rogue wolves howled in terror, their eyes melting in their sockets. And in that moment, Evelyn understood. The triplets weren't just heirs. They were weapons, blessed by the moon goddess herself. Epilogue, a new era. The sacred den was bathed in silver moonlight as Evelyn's final scream tore through the night. The air itself seemed to hold its breath as the third pup slid into Althea's waiting hands. A perfect, squirming bundle of white fur and celestial power. 3 heirs, the ancient seer whispered reverently, her milky eyes brimming with tears. The Trinity born under the blood moon, just as the prophecy foretold. Exhausted but radiant, Evelyn reached for her children. The moment her fingers brushed their fur, the pups' eyes snapped open, one pair glowing gold like their father's, another silver like the moon, and the third pup's eyes shifted colors like a kaleidoscope, reflecting every hue of the night sky. Kyle fell to his knees beside the birthing bed, his massive frame trembling. When he spoke, his voice was raw with awe. "Our sons." "2 sons," Althea corrected gently, cradling the smallest pup, "and a daughter, the first female alpha in 10 generations. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. Then a howl rose outside, then another and another. The entire Blood Moon pack was gathering, their voices joining in a chorus of devotion that shook the very foundations of the earth. 1 moon cycle later, Evelyn stood atop the sacred dais, her body healed but forever changed. The triplets slept peacefully in a woven bassinet at her feet, their tiny chests rising and falling in unison. Before them knelt every alpha from every neighboring pack, their heads bowed, their throats bared in submission. Cale's hands were steady as he placed the obsidian and moonstone crown upon Evelyn's head. "From this night forward," his voice boomed across the gathering, "you are not just my Luna. You are Queen of the Blood Moon throne, Mother of the Trinity, and together." He turned to face the sea of wolves, his golden eyes blazing with power. "Together, we will usher in a new age." Later, when the celebrations had quieted, Evelyn found herself standing at the cliff's edge where their story had truly begun. The same clearing where a human nurse had once stumbled upon a wounded wolf. Cale's arms encircled her from behind, his warmth seeping into her bones. "What are you thinking about, my queen?" Evelyn smiled, leaning back into his embrace. "How strange fate is. That night in the woods, I was so afraid." Cale's lips brushed the mating mark on her neck, making her shiver. And now? Now, as she looked down at their sleeping children, destined to unite all werewolf packs under one banner, Evelyn finally understood the truth. "I was never lost," she whispered, turning in his arms. "I was just coming home." Kyle's kiss tasted like forever. And when the moon reached its zenith that night, 3 tiny howls joined the chorus of their pack. Pure and powerful and perfect, the future had arrived.